ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। Started the class. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ वर्स नंबर 15। अर्पकान्तरराहित्येऽपि अस्त्येषां तत्स्वभावतः मा बोधतथानुभाव्यत्वं बोधात्मा तु न हीयते। So in this third chapter, Vidyaranya revealed this Brahman based on the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, and there the Brahman is revealed in four different ways. I mean, the four features of the Brahman have been highlighted in that chapter, Brahmanand Valli. And those features have been highlighted here also in this chapter by Vidyaranya. And that is the first feature of Brahman is Panchakosha Guha Vilakshanam. This 5 sheets which we call as a caves. This Brahman is very distinct from all these 5 sheets. Then that was discussed between verse number 2 to verse number 10. Then Panchakosha Guha Nihitam. Basically verse 11 and 12 says that the Brahman which is distinct from these 5 sheets is within these 5 sheets as a very witness. And that witness Brahman, which is that witness consciousness which is distinct from these 5 sheets, basically is nothing but the Atma. That is the third feature, and that is what which is under discussion now, and it is from verse number 13 to verse number 27. So Brahman is so it cannot be objectified because it objectifies everything. One which objectifies everything cannot be objectified. It is in the form of subject. So, and therefore it doesn't require being a subject. It's all the time there before any experience takes place. And therefore, it is not that it is experienced at a particular time. Any object definitely is experienced at a particular time, particular place, etc. with a process. Process also is involved. Whereas the subject, definitely it is all the time experienced. All the time, at all the places. And it doesn't require process because it is ever experienced. And so, that is how it has been told, Jagrat Sapna Sushuptishu Sputatara Yasambit Vijrumbhate. Jagrat Sapna Sushuptishu. In all the 3 states of experience, Brahman, that is Atma, which is there as the very I. So Brahman is ever experienced. It does not require any special effort or process for experiencing. And we then gave an example, like to experience the clip. We are showing a contradiction. Clip, which is an object. Definitely, to experience the clip, definitely process is required. What is that process? You have to turn your eyes towards the clip, right? We have to turn our eyes towards the clip, and then, there must be alignment between this knower, my eyes, that is pramanam, that is means of knowledge, and this object of knowledge called clip. There will be alignment. and then experience of the clip or no knowledge of the clip takes place. And in between, suppose my mind gets distracted, etc. Well, definitely, then well, I will not be able to experience the clip. So, but Swamiji, you have not told mind at all. Anyway, but means of knowledge I have told about eyes. So, you have to include mind along with the eyes, or eyes along with the mind, either. Mind along with the eyes or eyes along with the mind, that is pramana. That's a means of knowledge. This is object of knowledge. And I am the knower. All the three should be in alignment. That is called process. And so in mind, suppose a thought does not take place of the clip, then definitely there will not be clip experience. And therefore, so clip is experienced at this moment, at this place, with the process. So that's the nature of object. Object will, this being object, well, definitely it requires this special process of experience. And well, definitely time also is involved, place is involved. But basically the subject, which is, which is ever experienced, you need not have to experience yourself with a special process. So that is what has been told here. I mean, in the Vidyaranya gave example, of course, a different example. We have taken the example of a clip, but he gave an example of like making something sweet. So every other object requires a process to be sweet, but sugar does not require any process to be sweet. That's what he gave the example. So as a result, why every other object requires a process? What is a process? Simple. You have to add sugar. Like milk is not sweet. Now, well, milk which is non-sweet, well, will be made sweet with the help of a process at a particular time, at a particular place. And therefore, you require to add sugar and little stir, etc. Then the non-sweet milk became sweet. But to make sugar sweet, what process is required? No process. No process is required, no time is required, no place is required to make the sugar sweet. Why? Because sugar is by nature, it is sweet. And therefore, it is all the time sweet. At all the places it is sweet. Without any process it is sweet. And therefore, this is how we have to understand consciousness is in the form of experience. And therefore, definitely it is experienced all the time. Just as the sugar is sweet all the time, without any process it is sweet all the time, all the places, at all the places. Same way consciousness is experienced all the time. And therefore you don't require a special process, special anubhava, special experience to have an experience of Brahman, etc. And so Brahma anubhava is not an event to take place. And all the people, why only wise? Wise and ignorance, all ignorant people. Well, everyone basically ever experiencing Brahman. Before Vedantic study also you are experiencing Brahman, you are conscious all the time. And during Vedantic study also you experience Brahman only. And after Vedantic study is over also you experience Brahman. And so in form of I it is ever experienced. And okay, if it is ever experienced before Vedantic study, and well, then that is the experience of Brahman only, then why should I study your Shastra, your classes? I should not attend at all. Okay. So, well, but whether you know or not, that's the main question. You are experiencing Brahman, but you are able to claim that I am experiencing Brahman. I don't require a Brahma Anubhava, I am Brahman. Are you able to tell that? No. Well, then better study. Okay. So, purpose is upon this experience of Brahman, well, basically experience of a consciousness that is I, well, I have falsely added certain attributes. The whole Shastra study is ultimately to remove false attributes. Because of false attributes upon yourself, a false distance is created between you and the Brahman. Even though you are Brahman, which is self-revealing, you feel that you are an individual and you have to experience Brahman in the future. And that kind of individuality has arisen because of false attributes which you have superimposed upon the I. So problem is not lack of this experience of Brahman, but upon I, which is none other than Brahman, you have falsely added certain attributes. So when you say I am, it is Brahman. That's how it is all pervasive. I am is all pervasive. Very common factor, the common denominator in all the living beings. And therefore, in I am there is no attribute between you I and I. there is no difference. I have told you, if you try to find out a difference, please let me know. Between two I am, there is no difference. Differences occur when you add a third word in that. Yeah. So I am man. Over. Then somebody says I am woman, etc. etc. If dog is able to say, well, it also will tell I am dog. It is not able to say that's different thing. But what I am saying is everyone. So the third word will bring a difference. That's attribute. That's attribute. Attribute will always make a difference between any two objects. That's how we call qualification, etc. etc. Qualification means which qualifies something. Qualifies means which distinct one thing from the other. That's called qualification. Anyway, so basically everyone uniformly says I am, and therefore that must be the Brahman. Because that Brahman is all pervasive, and it is Brahman is available. In fact, Brahman is none other than the I, and therefore everyone is able to say I, that I must be Brahman. I is a conscious entity, and that I is basically a consciousness. So nobody puts full stop after I am, and then definitely other attributes are added. Attributes of the body, etc. are superimposed upon the consciousness, that is I. And then I is genderless consciousness. So man I and woman I, no difference. Man I and woman I, there is no difference. Only difference in the sound. Maybe one is having a more frequency and the other is having a less frequency. That may be there. But that sound also belongs to the body. But between two eyes, there is no gender. No gender difference. So then, definitely further when you add I am man, I am woman, etc., the difference occurs. So that on genderless consciousness, you are superimposing a gender. That's a big thing. And therefore this gross body, are superimposed. When you superimpose a gross body, the attributes of the gross body also are superimposed. That's how, one becomes a qualified. That's called jiva. That's called individual. So definitely, and then the attributes of the mind also are superimposed, basically, emotions and everything, and then you become qualified. Oh, I am a very good person, or I am useless person, whatever somebody says, anything. So ultimately, basically, I consciousness is free from emotion. So emotions are superimposed, but attributes of the body are physical body also are superimposed, etc. So falsely transfer attributes. But how? Why that should occur? That's a problem, and then we have to listen to you. Otherwise, otherwise there is no problem. Yeah, because the I, which is self-revealing, and definitely this being most proximate, this body, etc., being non-separate from the self-revealing Atma, and therefore they also are revealed along with the self-revealing Atma, and they are revealed as I because of the confusion, and therefore they continue to be revealed even after you get an enlightenment. Yeah, even if you say I am Asangam Brahma, I am free from the body, etc., it doesn't mean that in your awareness the body will not shine. It will shine as a I only due to prarabdha. It will shine, but you will know it is a mithya. And mithya will always shine. But shine as a mithya, shine as an appearance, that's called mithya. It doesn't become non-existent. So I am Brahman means basically I see myself all pervading and I'm pervading everyone and like that. If you are able to see that you are pervading going there, then that is an object. Understand that. So basically the physical body, etc., which are falsely superimposed upon this I, you will understand them as a mithya. That is negation. That is called negation. Negation means understanding the thing as a mithya. That's all. That's how we call it badha also. Negation means badha. And in Vedanta, the negation is negation of this type. We don't want to make anything as a non-existent. Let it shine. And we should not bother about it. It's a Ishvara's creation. It will shine. But in your understanding, now you won't add body, etc. upon yourself. You will know yourself as a attributeless Brahman. So, I am Asanga Chaitanya, etc. I is that Brahman. So, aim of Vedantic study is to negate these attributes. Okay, so you ask a question to me that, well, why should I study Shastra? The Shastra study is for this sake only. Making the false attribute as a false, negating them and basically, understanding them as a mithya, then definitely between you and the Brahman, there is no distance, because you are all the time self-revealing, and now you don't take yourself to be a limited being. The limitations were also were there in I because of this limited body, etc., which are actually mithya, which are dependently existent upon you, etc., etc., which are non-separate from you. So they are understood as a mithya. That's not your real nature. And so now you are still self-revealing, but now you reveal yours. That self-revealing is nothing but there is no limitation now. So you understand yourself as Brahman, self-revealing consciousness, which is Brahman, all-pervading, etc. So, well, Brahma Anubhava is there right now also. But in your understanding, because of the false superimposition, you take yourself as an individual, Jiva, and now you are searching for experiencing Brahman. Okay, and then, well, in Shankaracharya ji says in Upadesha Sahasri, Siddhadeva ahamasti ahamiti asmad yushmad dharmo nishidhyate rajvam iha ahiti yuktya tattvamasyadi shasanaihi. One of the best chapters in Upadesha Sahasri is Tattvamasi Prakaranam, chapter 18. There Shankaracharya ji says like this: Siddhadeva ahamati asmad. Aham Siddhat, I am ever existent, self-revealing, self-existent. Iti asmat, from that, Yushmat dharma nishidhyate. Yushmat dharma. What is you-ness? What is idam? What is object? What is anatma? Yushmat dharma means basically what is anatma. Nishidhyate. Nishidhyate means they are negated, they are understood as mithya. Rajvamiha ahiti yuktya. Just as, well, a snake is negated upon the rope. And therefore, tattvamasyadi shasanehi. When, well, Mahavakya is told that you are Brahman, definitely you drop all the false superimposed, you not false superimposed. You basically, you negate all the superimposed dharmas and, dharmi also, bodies also. And that is how you are Brahman. In that equation, you are Brahman reveals that it is a present tense, right? So right now also you are Brahman. But due to this superimposition of the attributes, you are taking yourself as a jiva, individual, and now you drop those limitations, well, pertaining to the body, etc. Now you don't take it as a yourself. So this is regarding our Brahmanubhava. So I basically reveals the Chit, M reveals existence. Naturally, M is a verb you know very well. And then, well, and that I am means you are not adding any attribute now, man and woman and this and that. So then that I am is attributeless. What is attributeless is Anantam. What is free from all the attributes is limitless. Well, somebody asked me that, well, you said Maya also has attribute. Yeah, it's attribute. What? Mithyatva. And then Akasha has attributes, and then Vayu has attributes, and all have attributes. Brahman has no attributes. But even Maya also has one more attribute. You told. Yeah, I told. What? Existence. Yeah, also is borrowed existence, you said. Maya has a mithyatvam of its own property, and a borrowed property is existence. And so Maya has not one. There are two properties. Okay, two. Then if Maya has a two, Akasha also has a two. Akasha is a mithyatvam and Akasha is a shabda. So there are both have equal properties. Then how do you say Akasha is more limited than Maya? In your concentric circles, you have shown Akasha is 9/10 of the Maya. Akasha has a three attributes. If you give an attribute of borrowed existence to Maya, then what about Akasha? Akasha also exists or not? With its own, Akasha is not Satyam. Akasha also is existing with a borrowed existence from Brahman. So it has three now. So borrowed existence, mithyatvam, borrowed, and one its own property called Shabda. Anyway, this is by the way somebody asked the question, so because they may be referring to the notes perhaps. Not all are writing, but somebody may be writing. So therefore, anyway, so this add any no attribute limitless. Add attribute become qualified. Qualified means limited. Limited. Because that's a job of qualification, to distinguish yourself from somebody else. Well, that also reveals that you are limited also, because you cannot accommodate everyone. Once you are qualified, well, you yourself distinguish. Definitely then, well, you are going to be limited. More and more qualification, more and more limitation. And this is samsara actually. All people want to, whole life is just to be qualified. Whole life. I somehow want to prove myself that I'm distinct from everyone else. By education, by money, by anything. So he has a wrong equation due to Maya. He has a wrong equation. His equation is, more I get qualified, I will become limitless. I will become big. Big means limitless. He has that kind of a thing. At the end of life, he realized that I have added so many qualifications, but I remain the same fellow. Pujya Swamiji's words, fellow. So that he remains a same fellow, complaining fellow, limited fellow, dependent fellow. That's how it is. The journey is actually give up the qualification. Yeah, in order to, it's a common sense. If you want to become big, if you want to accommodate everyone, then you have to find a common denominator between many and you. Then that's how you spread. That is how you become big. People try to make themselves, qualified and want to become big. You cannot. You will feel more limitations. Anyway, so I am, if you don't go further. If you go further, you are Jiva. If you stop after I am, not in words, understand. In your understanding, this Satyamithya Viveka is there when you say that I am a Swami. When you say I am a Swami, in your understanding, the Swami is a Mithya and I am is Satyam. That understanding is there. Well, definitely, and therefore that Satyamithya Viveka. Earlier, well, when ignorance was there, well, I say I am Swami. I think everything is equal in reality. Oh, I am Swami, that's a reality. That's not reality. That's not reality. Just as an actor says that I am so and so in a movie, suppose. He is very clear. He is very clear that I am belongs to actor. Naturally, because he is speaking, actor only is speaking, well, role is not speaking, actor is speaking. But well, the third thing which he adds, whatever, I am a king, whatever. He may be having a role of a king, let's say. So he says, I am a king. He is a wise person. He has a Satyamithya Viveka actually. Yeah, the kingness is actually borrowed with it. Kingness is there with the borrowed existence from the actor. Where is a king without this actor? Kingness shine well due to actor. Okay, and therefore, basically, any name and form, I have so many things I can tell in this. Any name and form is an attribute. We have learned this actually. We have learned before also that any name and form is an attribute. The substance is I am. That's the reality. That is the tangible thing on which this name and form stands. Name and form exist. Name and form shines. We feel the form is the reality. Form is a substance. And we consider what was the substance? We consider what is the substance? We consider it as a property. Gold is a substance, and ornament, which is name and form, is a property. But we feel that golden bangle means what is adjective? Well, golden seems to be the property. Any adjective is a property. Blue clip, if you say, well, blue is an adjective, it's a property. And clip is a substance. So basically you feel golden bangle, etc. So well, bangle is the reality and golden bangle. So golden, that adjective, well, definitely it's a property. It's a other way. Gold is a substance. Bangle is name and form is an intangible thing actually. It's an intangible thing. It is superimposed. Bangle shines on account of gold. Not gold shines on account of bangle. And therefore gold exists not on account of bangle. Gold has not to borrow existence from bangle. Bangle has to borrow. So it's a ulta. But why ulta? This is Maya. This is Maya. Maya's job is this actually. We have seen that. Maya's job is to manifest all the names and forms and create a ulta. All ulta. Anyway. Okay, so Satyam Jnanam Anantam, now I hope you have understood. So Satchit Ananda, etc. I am is well Satchit, and if you, whatever you add, please keep adding, because you have to transact in the world. And when you transact, definitely name and form is involved. I am cannot involve. That Brahman cannot involve, which is common denominator. Well, so what is involved in the transaction is name and form, and therefore you have to add name and form. And therefore, well, we have to introduce ourselves that I am a Swami and therefore I eat this kind of food and I do this kind of a thing. All are pertaining to name and form. I have to say that, and it's okay. But in your understanding, like the understanding of an actor, you know very well that all this name and form, that is all name and form which is involved in the transaction, and that is mithya. And therefore, well, I am actually is I am. That's a reality, free from all attributes. When any form comes, attributes come. Any form comes, attributes come. And therefore, definitely, please, that don't involve a name and don't give a reality to name and form. That's all. That is our understanding. And for that sake, we are studying Shastra. Shastra actually, Shastra is not going to give us a special anubhava of a Brahman. I am basically is Brahman. And that I is ever experienced all the time, all the places, under all situation, without any process. You have not to undergo any process to experience I. And therefore, basically, it is a Brahmanubhava. It is self-revealing. Without any pramana. It's a paroksham, etc. We'll see that later. Anyway, and now, so in verse number 15, it says, Mabhut tatha anubhavyatvam. Let Brahman not be specially experienced by you. Anubhavyatvam. Anubhavyatvam means be experienced like that. Mabhut means it should not be specially experienced by you. We have to add that. Tvaya. So Mabhut tatha anubhavyatvam. Let Brahman not be specially experienced by you. Still, what? Bodhatma. Brahman is the nature of consciousness. Chaitanya. Bodhatma means Chaitanya Swarupaha. Atma means Swarupa. Na hiyate. So, Brahman, which is nature of consciousness, is not negated. Even if you cannot experience Brahman, the way you are experiencing Kleep and other things, well, you cannot tell that, there is no Brahman. There is no consciousness, etc. You cannot tell that. Brahman is nature of consciousness and it is ever experienced, and therefore don't expect to experience the Brahman as an object. It is ever evident, ever experienced. And it is very, very, very odd. If I say I don't have a Brahma Anubhava, itself is a self-contradictory statement, really. The very he is Brahman. And he says I don't experience Brahman, right? Even though, so this is how, person says, somebody says I am not there. Anyway, it is going to come in this also. I am not there. It's a self-contradictory statement. So, if you remember, we have seen that those doshas, Vadato Vyagata, that the first dosha, out of 5 doshas, which we have seen in the first chapter, if you remember. Okay, Swamiji, you may remember, we don't want to, it's another thing. Okay, to say, I should be there. To say that I am not there also, I should be there. And therefore, same way, I have no Brahma experience. Itself is a self-contradictory thing. Well, nobody can negate Brahman. Nobody can negate even experience of Brahman at any time. Because Brahman being I. Okay, let's go to verse number 16. Swayam Jyoti Bhavatyesha Purosmad Bhasate Khilat Tameva Bhantamanveti Tadbhasa Bhasyate Jagat. Verse number 16 says, Well, what Vidyaranya said up to this verse number 15 regarding Brahman being Atma, etc. Well, somebody may question, how dare you say all these things? Because these things it is not available for perception like this, that Brahman is Atma, etc. That kind of equation is not there in your front. It's not in your perception. Because Atma being basically beyond perception, Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Arasam, Nityam, Gandhavat. So Brahman is not available for seeing, Brahman is not, or Atma, Brahmatma, let's put that way now. Brahmatma is not available for seeing, not available for smelling, not available for tasting. Then how will you say like that? That Brahman is there, first thing, and that Brahman is the very Atma with this consciousness, etc. How do you say that? So he now has to bring some references, from the Veda, and so he brings so many references. Well, Upanishad reveals first this kind of a thing, that Brahman is the Atma. First is a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 439. Eshaha Swayam Jyotihi Bhavati. Eshaha Swayam Jyoti. We'll see that later. Then the second is a Nrsimha Tapaniya Nrsimha Uttara Tapaniya Upanishad, and that is mantra number 2, says Puraha Asmat Bhasate Akhilat. And the third one is from Mundaka Upanishad 2-11, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:14, and Katha Upanishad 5:15. And all the three reveal the same mantra. All the three places you will find the same mantra. What is that mantra? Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti, kutoyam agnihi. So Vidyaranya paraphrases that. He doesn't put exactly, he bodily does not lift a part of it. He paraphrases with the same meaning, partly. He says that here, tameva bhantam anveti, tadbhasa bhasyate jagate. That's the second line of this verse, verse number 16. And that is from Mundaka Upanishad, Shvetashvatara and Katha Upanishad. So consciousness is ever evident Brahman. That is equal to I. Well, only you have to, as we have discussed, only you have to give up the identification or the claim as a body, etc. because they are non-substantial thing. Mithya means a non-substantial. Mithya has this quality that it shines all the time, but it is non-substantial. Like a snake. It shines all the time, but it is non-substantial. When you don't know, well, it will be a tangible thing, reality. And but if once you know that it is like this, then well, definitely it's a different thing. So, and if suppose that example you may not like, then there is all examples are there, sunrise and everything, blue moon and blue ocean and blue sky and all. They all the time shine like this. They will shine like this. But in your understanding now, they are negated. Same way, body etc. are going to shine. Being Ishwara Srushti, that will be there. It will shine along with the eye. Eye is shining on its own, self-revealing, self-shining. Body being non-separate from it, very near, close to this, will definitely shine along with the eye. But basically now you understand them as a mithya. So the 4 points we have to remember, we all discuss this all the time regarding this consciousness is, first point is, I am a consciousness, I am not a part, product or property of the body. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I am an independent consciousness which is, well, definitely pervades and enlivens the body. Third, I am not limited by the boundaries of the body. Why? Because I am independent. Since I am not part, product or property of the body, well, I have no limitations. And fourth, well, I continue to survive even after the fall of the body. So the fifth point also is there. Well, body is required, well, to, for manifestation of consciousness, etc. That is there. But these 4 points are basically very important. So whenever we discuss consciousness, Brahman, Atma, you should be able to connect it to the I. Because, well, earlier you used to say like that Atma is which is not a part, a product or property of the body, etc. or consciousness is not a part product property of the part product property of the body. Existence is not a part product property of the body. You drop all this. Now whatever is talked about existence, consciousness, Atma, Brahma, Chaitanyam, well, put immediately I. So these 4 points, remove that consciousness, existence, etc. and write I. That I am not a part product property. I, the consciousness, is not part product property of the body, etc. Anyway, so, and whenever you talk about I, well, after the class is over, remember that I is reality. The reality of that I is basically consciousness. Even though in Vyavahara you will have to say, you won't say that I am consciousness. Nobody will do Vyavahara with you then. Nobody will transact with you. The moment you say I am Brahman, even they won't give you job also. I'm telling you. So don't say that. Name and form is involved. Involve that. And it is revealing along with the I. So what? Have a fun. But say, I mean, your understanding that basically it is Anatma, it is not me, etc. So whenever you talk about I, in back of your mind, that I am consciousness should be there all the time. Well, that is important. So I am consciousness should be remembered, and therefore these 4 points I should remember. If you remember these 4 points, you will not forget. Whenever you utter a word I, you will not forget that I is basically, because the very first point will come. Very first point will come that I am not a part product property of the body. And therefore, even though in a Vyavahara, in a transaction you are saying, oh, I'm coming there, wait for me, etc. Now you know very well that basically I am coming means definitely body is coming there or body is reaching there, etc., etc. I cannot reach anywhere because I am not a part product property. I am an independent entity. I enliven the body, I pervade the body, make the body conscious. Because of body, because of me, the body has existence, etc., etc. Well, and therefore I am not limited by the boundaries of the body, etc. These 4 points, please, memorize for a few days. Then definitely, whenever you do transaction also on your back of mind, this will remain. Or whenever Shastra, whenever you are in a class, well, and Swami may be using sometime, may not be using word I all the time. He may be using word Brahman and Atma and Chaitanyam, Chit and Sat and something like that. But in your understanding, you are connecting immediately to the I because of this memorization of the 4 points. And well, so all the bodies basically, since you are independent and not limited by the body, etc., well, all the bodies, not this body, all the bodies are floating in the consciousness, as like bubble is floating in the water, in the wave or etc. That bubble is not just nothing but the wave, not nothing but the water basically, same way. And this we have seen in the Atma Bodha, that all entire Jagat, that is there. It has been told by Shankaracharya ji that all the Srushtis, previous Srushti and this Srushti, and all the Srushtis are basically like bubbles, Budbudavat. They are shining and they have an existence because of the consciousness that is me, etc., etc. So I can declare that I am Brahman. Once you negate, once you understand body, etc., as a mithya due to the study of the Shastra with the teacher, well, now the same, still the self-revealing consciousness, now you understand as a limitless. So, well, that is where, so same I is equated with the Brahman now. That's called Mahavakya. Earlier it was equated with the Jiva because of the superimposed attributes of the body. So you were saying I am individual Jiva. Now they are negated. They are still shining with the I. They are, but still you have negated it. And therefore you say I am limitless consciousness in which not this body, all the bodies basically are shining. Our body are like bubbles, etc. But anyway, so eternal problem of the seeker is that he wants more and more proof to claim this fact. And so Vidyaranya gives here a proof from the Upanishad. Eshaha swayam jyotihi bhavati. This Atma is self-evident or ever-evident, so does not require a specific experience. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then second proof is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Akhilat asmat purah bhasate. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Nrsimha Tapaniya, Nrsimha Uttara Tapaniya Upanishad. Akhilat asmat purah bhasate. Consciousness which is ever evident. Well, even we before experience anything. Puraha means before, in terms of time. So, that which is experienced first is I. How do you say? Well, when you wake up, this is what is happening. Well, when you wake up, before you experience even time, space and objects, entire world, first thing occurs in you is I. And so even you want to experience, suppose an Atma, well, you must be there to experience it, right? You say, I want to experience Atma. So you must be there or not? Yeah, I must be there. So therefore, you are experiencing yourself first. That Atma is Brahman, okay? And therefore, so you must be there even to entertain a desire of Atma experience, let's say. Forget about Atma experience. The very desire of experiencing Atma takes place in a conscious being. So that person must be there in which the desire takes place. That is the consciousness. That is Brahman. And therefore, experiencing of Atma, you are desiring the experience of an Atma, well, requires what? Presupposes what? Desirer. That is Atma. That is Brahman. Okay? Hey, wait a minute. This Brahman is a desirer? Sir, with respect to desire, same Atma is called desirer. With respect to doing, same Atma is called Karta. With respect to experiencing something, same Atma is called Bhokta. Hey, wait a minute. You are saying, so Atma is Karta, Bhokta, etc. Sir, this is Ahankara. But then Ahankara is Atma basically. Ahankara is non-separate from the Atma, and therefore from Atma alone this Ahankara I thought arises, and then it claims further Karta, Bhokta, Pramata, etc. or a desire, etc. Ultimately everything is Atma. And therefore, with respect to certain, it's a point of view. Your view about yourself is that you are all pervading consciousness. But a point of view is this, that you are a desirer, you are a karta, you are a bhokta, with respect to doing. Same Atma is basically called karta. It's a point of view, it is not the view. View means, I am not saying you are karta. That's not reality. But with respect to doing, like with respect to, the same person with respect to a certain activity, we call it as a worker or something. Same. So worker is just a designation. It is not a reality about the person. Person is not born as a worker or something. So please understand that. And therefore, that is how Bhagavan also said, Tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akarta tasya kartaram. Well, I am the creator of the entire universe. And then he immediately says, well, I am not a creator all. I am not created anything. I am not a creator also. What are you saying? You previously you say I am a creator, and now you say I am not a creator. Yeah, both are true. With respect to creation, I am creator. There is no one other than me who creates. But from my own standpoint, well, I am Brahman. Where is the creation? If creation is there, I will have to say I am a creator. But there is no creation from my standpoint, from Brahman's standpoint. All the names and forms are mithya. So anyway, please understand. And to entertain a desire for an experiencing Atma or Brahman, the desire should be required before. And therefore the desirer, conscious being, that is Atma, that is Brahman. So even before Atma Anubhava, actually you are experiencing Atma. Anyway, so Akhilat Asmat Purah Bhasate, Akhilat Asmat. Asmat Akhilat means all this entire Prapancha, Anatma Prapancha, even before experiencing this entire Anatma Prapancha, Bhasate, this Atma is shining. It is, Atma is experienced as a I. Now Mundaka Upanishad mantra, which has been told in the verse number 16, in the second line, Tameva Bhantam Anveti Tadbhasa Bhasyate Jagat. Everything else is experienced because of Atma experience only. We have seen that also, that mantra in Tattvabodha while discussing, this consciousness, we have discussed this. But anyway, it is again coming here. So everything else is experienced well because of Atma experience. So let's go to example. You see, when you experience a clip, actually, you experience one more thing along with the clip. Experience of clip plus experience of one more thing. Both are there. But you say you are experiencing clip. You never enumerate the experience of that other thing. You never say that I am experiencing something else also. You don't say. And now I hope you know that what towards what I am indicate all this. It's a light, right? Clip, well, when clip is taking bath right now in the light. Without light, where is a question of experiencing clip? So you are experiencing actually light first. And in that light, you are experiencing the clip also. That is how they say, the clip the light falls on the clip, object called clip, and then that reflected light comes to your to your eyes, and that's how you are able to experience the clip. So basically you are experiencing two things. You are experiencing clip plus you are experiencing light also. But you never say that. Even though you experience two things, you never say. You say, I am experiencing clip only. Anyway, so what you experience actually first, and that which is most important, without which actually the experience of clip won't take place. Such a thing you forget it. Now let's, after clip experience, well, you have this experience, pen experience. So again, here also, one thing is common. Experience of one thing remains common. What is that? Light. Here also you are experiencing light. Here also you are experiencing light. So objects keep on changing. And therefore experience of objects also keep on changing. But at the same time you are experiencing light, which is common in all. Experience of light, which is common in all, you are not appreciating. So, in every experience of an object, the experience of light is all the time there. It should be included. It is there, but you should include in your understanding. Same way Vedanta says, if you remember our Kenopanishad statement, million, trillion, zillion dollar, right? Statement. Pratibodha viditam matam bodham prati yad viditam tad brahma. So basically in pot knowledge and clip knowledge and pen knowledge and computer knowledge or camera knowledge, whatever, mobile knowledge, that knowledge is common. That is consciousness. That is consciousness. So just as light is common, and you are experiencing light also in all the experiences of the varieties of the objects, same way in varieties of the jnana, varieties of the cognitions. Well, consciousness is a common factor in all. So part knowledge, you can say part consciousness. Well, clip knowledge means clip consciousness. So part consciousness, clip consciousness, mobile consciousness, computer consciousness, pen consciousness. Consciousness is all the time there, which is revealing itself, and that is you. But you never appreciate it. You directly, well, say, I am experiencing varieties of the objects. But you are experiencing the most common thing, without which the experience of object won't take place. Just as light is not there, you can't experience a clip. Same way consciousness is not there, how will you experience any object of the world? So before you experience actually any object, you are experiencing yourself. That is Brahman, consciousness. That is Brahman. So then why are you asking that I want to have experienced Brahman? Actually, you are not able to appreciate that you are Brahman. Tameva bhantam sarvam anveti, tameva bhantam, tam, atmanam, or Brahma, or Chaitanya. Tameva bhantam anveti, everything is evident because of experience of consciousness. Tadubhasa bhasyate jagat. Tad means this Chaitanya. Chaitanya bhasa bhasyate jagat. Tad bhasa bhasyate jagat means Chaitanya bhasa bhasyate jagat. This actually, there is a bhas is a word. It's a sakaranta strilinga word. Bhas. And this is a tritiya vibhakti. Bhasa. So baha, baso, bhasa, etc. etc. And tritiya vibhakti is bhasa, bhabhyam, bhabhihi, etc. So Chaitanya Bhasa means basically because of, the whole world is experienced or illumined by Chaitanya, etc. So Bhasa, so by that Chaitanya, whole world is illuminated. It's a Tritiya Vibhakti I told you, which is I. So you are right now experiencing all waking experiences, all dream experiences, or no experiences, or ignorance experiences in deep sleep. All experiences takes place because I, the consciousness, is present in all. And therefore you are ever evident, ever experiencing yourself. Why do you need a Brahman experience? You are Brahman, understand that. And that you will be able to understand when you drop these false attributes superimposed upon yourself. If you remove it, well, that same self-revealing I, which is understood as a Brahman, and therefore no need of experiencing Brahman. It is not possible at all. It is not possible. Drop the idea today itself. There, Brahman Anubhava will not be possible at all. And therefore, this is what we have to understand. Anyway, let's go to verse number 17. Yenedam janate sarvam tat kenanyena janatam vijñātāram kena vidyāt shaktam vedyetu sadhanam. Now, this is another Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra. Very, very important portion right now. What we are studying is the core of the Vedanta Shastra. To study Brahman is one thing, but to know that Brahman is Atma, which is actually Mahavakya, that is the crux of the whole thing. And he is explaining and also giving lot of references also that whatever he is talking is based on Upanishad itself. So, now another Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra he paraphrases actually, not exactly quoting, and that mantra is 4-5-15. Yena idam sarvam janate. Well, yena idam sarvam janate. Idam sarvam janate. People, janaha, we have to add it. Janaha idam sarvam janate. We have to supply the subject actually. Janate, I have told you, it's a plural word. From the gnya dhatu is there in 9th conjugation. Gnya means to know, and it becomes ja when you make verbs. So janite, janate, janate. And so here it is janate is used. So we have to use a plural subject. Plural it should be, and therefore janaha we have to supply. Janaha janate. Well, people know what? Everything, idam sarvam, everything by yena, chaitanyena, brahmana. So by this consciousness alone, they know. So janate is a prathama purusha bahuvachanam. That chaitanyam can't be known by anything else. So by which chaitanyam, by consciousness alone you know everything. That consciousness cannot be known by anything else. Very simple to understand, right? So because of which you know everything, that should not be known. That is not known by other instruments, and they need not be. Any instrument need not reveal it also. Reveal the Atma also. Anyway, so tat chaitanyam kena anyena janatam. So how will people know with other instruments what? This chaitanyam. Chaitanyam, because of which everything is known, that chaitanyam cannot be revealed, cannot be known by any instruments in the world, because that instrument itself is known by the consciousness. The very experience of instrument, knowing of the instrument takes place because of consciousness. Therefore, any instrument will not be able to, is not capable of revealing basically the chaitanya. So, how will people know with other instruments? Because all instruments are jadam. Naturally, they are revealed by consciousness, so they are jadam. What is revealed by consciousness is jadam. And consciousness is revealing itself, self-revealing. So, it is chaitanya. So, three things are there here. Chaitanyam cannot be known by jadam. One thing. Second thing, Chaitanyam cannot be known by another Chaitanyam. I will give you a reason also. First what I said, Chaitanyam cannot be known by Jadam. Naturally. Jadam means which is inert, cannot reveal consciousness. Consciousness reveals Jadam. That Jadam cannot reveal consciousness. Being Jadam, being inert. That's its nature. Jadam means basically all the time which is revealed by consciousness. Okay, so Chaitanyam cannot be known by Jadam, that is the first point. Chaitanyam can't be known by other Chaitanyam also. Yeah, Chaitanyam can't be known by other Chaitanyam. Why? Why? There is no other Chaitanyam. If you say that there is Swamiji, there is another Chaitanyam. Oh, over. So that Chaitanyam is revealed. Right? When you say there is another Chaitanyam, means that Chaitanyam is revealed by you, the Chaitanyam. So that Chaitanyam becomes what? Please tell me. If that Chaitanyam is revealed, what is revealed is Chaitanyam or Jadam? Jadam. Therefore there is no other Chaitanyam. So there is only one Chaitanyam. Anyway, Chaitanyam cannot be known by other Chaitanyam also. I am using word Chaitanyam, you understand consciousness. Okay, third thing. Chaitanyam cannot be known by Chaitanyam itself. Like eyes cannot know itself again, etc. So how do you know? Well, then how do you work for experiencing Brahman? Chaitanyam or Brahman? Brahman cannot be known by Jadam. Brahman cannot be experienced by Jadam. Brahman cannot be known by another Brahman. Let's put that way. Brahman cannot be experienced by another Brahman because there is no other Brahman. And Brahman cannot be experienced by itself. Because basically eyes, as the eyes cannot know itself, same way Brahman cannot be known by itself. So it's a very ridiculous, this Brahmanubhava is a very ridiculous thing. Still people work for experiencing this Brahman. Really, people are working day and night. People are giving up so many things and they are committed to meditation. Just committed to meditation. And they don't know what for they are in this whole thing. So, kena anyena janaha janatam. Kena anyena janaha janatam. These people, how well, with what instrument they will know or experience Brahman. Janatam also is again I told you, Agnya is a Gnya Dhatu, ninth conjugation, and Atmanipada, and this is lot, imperative mood. Pratham Purush Bahuvachanam. Janitam, Janatam, Janatam. So, well, tat means Chaitanya, and that is a Dvitiya Vibhakti, object of Janatam. Kena anyena tat Janatam, by which instruments this people will know that Brahman. So, that is Dvitiya Vibhakti, object of Janatam. So, same idea is reinforced in second line. Vijñātāram kena vidyāt. As I told you, this in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is Vijñātāram kena vijaniyāt. Same thing. Same thing. There it is vijaniyāt. Here it is vidyāt. Vid dhatu also has a meaning to know. Like Gnya dhatu, which I told you right now. So from there it is vijaniyāt. And here it is vidyāt. So he is paraphrasing. So he says, how knower can be known? Vijñātāram. Vijñātāram means knower. Kena vidyāt, how knower can be known? Means with what? Kena means kena sadhanena. Kena karanena. With what instrument it can knower be known? With any instrument, object can be known. Right? Subject can never be known. Because subject is the one who uses that instrument. This well I will explain you, don't worry. So, rule is, he gives a rule here. Shaktaha vedye tu sadhanam. So, sadhanam vedye shaktam. So, shaktam means capable, function. Sadhanam. Sadhanam means instrument. You can take it even here. We are talking about knowing Brahman, experiencing Brahman. So, sadhanam will be taken in terms of pramana, means of knowledge, instrument of knowledge. So, any pramanam, sadhanam means any pramanam, vedyam means prameyam, object of knowledge. So, any pramana, shaktam means can function. Any pramana can function within a field of prameya. So, that's a Vishaya Saptami, Vedya Vishaye Shaktam. Any pramana can function within the field of a prameya with respect to object of knowledge. So, let's understand this statement. Vidyaranya said this. See, there are totally 4 things in a creation. Totally. Not in part of creation, but let's take that way. One is a Sakshi. then pramata, then pramanam, and prameya. Right? 4 things are there. Of this, pramana can function only in one field, that is prameya. Right? Pramana, any means of knowledge, any instrument of knowledge, can function what? What is its field? Prameya, object of knowledge. So, only pramana can function in the field of knowledge called prameya. Pramana cannot function in other 3 fields. What are the other 3 fields? Pramanam, then pramata, and sakshi. With respect to these 3 things, pramana cannot function anything. It becomes inactive. Pramana cannot objectify pramana itself. Eyes cannot objectify itself. And therefore, or let's say the knife. Knife can cut vegetables. We are talking about function. So let's say knife can cut the vegetables, etc., fruits, etc. Knife cannot cut itself. Right? So basically pramana cannot function in the field of pramana. That's the first thing. Second thing, pramana cannot function in the field of pramata also. Pramata is the one who uses the instrument. Right? And therefore, one who uses the instrument, that pramana cannot function on itself. Cannot function on the pramata. Like if you hold a knife in the right hand, it can cut a left hand, etc., or it can cut something else, but it cannot operate on the hand which holds the knife, which holds itself. It cannot function. So pramanam cannot function on pramata. In fact, pramata wields pramanam, right? Pramata is one who uses pramanam. So that pramana cannot function basically on pramata. So 3 things are there. What we said is pramanam or instrument of function can function in the field of object, with respect to object, and then instrument does not basically function in the field of instrument, and instrument does not function in field of agent, etc., who uses the instrument. Well, so these 3 things are there. Then if pramanam itself cannot function in field of pramata and pramanam, then what to talk of sakshi? Yeah? Sakshi, which is actually basically of a different order of reality. Definitely this pramana, which is a empirical reality, cannot function on this sakshi, which is absolute reality. Pramanam cannot function with respect to pramata itself. Then where is the question of a sakshi, which is a sakshi of a witness, which is a sakshi of a witness of a pramata itself. And therefore, pramanam cannot function with respect to sakshi at all. And therefore, using instruments, you want to experience Brahman, sakshi. That's impossible. And so, pramana function cannot work there. And so, because you want to experience with the instruments which you have, with the eyes or with the mind, whatever. So, this is how it has been told here. Now, verse number 18, etc., we'll have to see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.